Hey, what's up, everybody? Gonna do a classic reaction, man. This is Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, In Through the Outdoor album, and a track called All of My Love, or All My Love, depending, I guess, on your interpretation. I've seen it interpreted both ways, so I'll say it's All of My Love, man. Anyway, I heard one of my patrons, Scott, he sent me a note about this song. He said that, yes, even though I'm not a big fan of ballads, this is a devotional more so than just a love ballad. And Robert, I believe, lost his son when he was quite young. Robert was away on tour. And so this is one of those very strong, heartfelt ballad type songs. So, hey, man, I'm looking forward to checking it out. Led Zeppelin has never disappointed me where the area of ballads are concerned, so I'm sure it's going to be quite good. So, Scott, thank you very much for that, man. I appreciate it. Let's dive in, man. Let's check this out. Led Zeppelin, All of My Love. Let's get it.
Should I fall out of love, my fire in the light, to chase a feather in the wind, within the glow that weaves a cloak of delight, that moves a thread that has no end, for many hours and days that pass ever soon, the tides of cause the flame to dim. Last the arm is straight, the hand to the loom. Is this to end or just begin? All of my love, all of my love, oh, all of my love to you. All of my love, all of my love, oh, all of my love to you. The cup is raised, the toast is made yet again. One voice is clear above the din. Proud Ariane, one word my will to sustain. For me the clock once more to spin. Oh, all of my love, all of my love, oh, all of my love for you. All of my love, yes, all of my love to you, child.
For me, the cloth once more to spin. He's trying to find his way back. Nice. Light thunder. Listen to that great musicianship. It's there no matter what they do. Excellent. Excellent. describing the state of being between him and his wife after their loss. I imagine being on the road all the time, he'd get very, very lonely. Especially after this. Wow, wow. All of my love. These lads are masterful in every area that they touch. From folk rock, blues rock, classic rock, heavy, they can go into metal, and they can master soft rock here. And not only soft rock, but they're pushing towards a more synth-dominated center, maybe perhaps forward looking towards the future. The 80s was just around the corner. There's a few people who say that no, they didn't even have that kind of foresight yet. It was still 77, 78-ish, and they didn't actually have that kind of foresight. I don't know. I wonder. Anyway, all the same, this is a great song, man. It's one of those devotionals, I'll call it, not so much a ballad. And it's a great devotional, definitely heartfelt. A devotional in loving memory of his son, and really sharing with you how he feels, what thoughts he has, where he goes. Sometimes he feels lonely, sometimes he feels like a feather in the wind. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, that is what happens when you lose a loved one, especially a child. No parent should ever outlive a child. And then on top of that, in a tragic way, in a sense where the child hasn't even had a chance to grow and mature. And then on top of that, he's away when this happens. Man, I tell you, some deep rooted pain here, you know. But knowing of Robert's story, I believe that the band stopped touring. He went home for a little bit. He was contemplating leaving the band and I believe becoming a school teacher. Obviously connecting to the memory of his son and keeping it, close to his heart. And was it his friend John Bonham? I think John Bonham convinced him to stay with the band, take some time off, but stay with the band, and he did. So, if I've got my timeline right, let me know if I'm right. Anyway, man, hey, what else can I say about this song? But it's a great song, a great, heartfelt, excellent devotional, and what's coming at me in force, like I've already said, is how whatever these guys seem to touch, they master, even at their lowest point. Lowest point being, okay, they've got tragedy going on at this time. They've got addiction issues. alcoholism. They weren't getting along very well. They were a little bit on the estranged side. They were kind of scattered. And even with that, they come together and they create something really excellent like this. Yes, it's not a hard, thunderous song, but it's got a little bit of everything in there, and something more, showing you that they can go wherever the hell they want to go and master it. That's fantastic, man. It's the number one reason I like these guys so much. And yet with all of that, they still happen to have this great Led Zeppelin charm, signature sound that they take with them. No matter where they go, their mastery of the musicianship and everything else that goes with it follows. I love that about these guys, man. Let's get some background, man. One other thing I'm going to say too is I have heard this song before. I remember this song, but it didn't click into my mind until the synthesizer started its solo. That's when it came back to me, and I'd heard it many, many years ago, before I was aware of Led Zeppelin really, and before I was familiar with, well, okay, that's the Led Zeppelin sound. This is Led Zeppelin performing and singing. I wasn't aware of all that. I do remember that solo, the synthesizer solo. That is what I remember. And then everything else kind of came back about the song. And then after that, I remember how the bass groove behind it was very, very prominent. Yes, it was more of a mellow, soft rock tune, but it had that great bass and drum groove behind it. And those are the two things about this song that I remember. Excellent, man. It's amazing how some things stick in your mind. Let's do a little background, man. Let's find out exactly how this song came about, detail-wise, and go from there. So, okay. Not a tremendous amount of information, just a couple of paragraphs. Okay, so let's check this out, man. All of My Love, or All My Love. Wikipedia says it's All My Love. Okay, so All My Love is the sixth song on Led Zeppelin's 1979 album, In Through the Outdoor. It's a rock ballad that features a synthesizer solo by Jones. It was written in honor of Plant's son Carrick, who died while Led Zeppelin was on their 1977 North American tour. All My Love is one of the only two Led Zeppelin songs that Jimmy Page had no part in writing, the other being Southbound Suarez, also from In Through the Outdoor. Zeppelin vocalist Robert Plant and bass player John Paul Jones wrote this. The band had drifted apart, with guitarist Jimmy Page and drummer John Bonham hanging out together and rarely showing up on time for recording sessions. As a result, many of the songs on In Through the Outdoor were put together by Plant and Jones, with Page and Bonham adding their parts late at night. Yeah, wow. Yeah, that is something, What I was thinking about there is Bonham having what I'm calling controlled thunder in this song. And just goes to show, if they're recording their parts at night and then marrying it up, it blends together so well, man. These guys were really in tune with each other and didn't even have to be present at the same time recording, Another astounding thing. You don't hear much synthesizer in Led Zeppelin's canon, but All My Love contains a synth solo played by John Paul Jones. In Through the Outdoor is recorded at Polar Studios in Stockholm, which was owned by ABBA. Benny Andersson of ABBA had a Yamaha GX1 synth in the studio that Jones used on the track. Led Zeppelin performed the song during their concert tour of Europe in 1980. All My Love is also included in the Led Zeppelin compilations Early Days and Latter Days, Remasters, and Mothership. Critical reception. Let's see what the critics have to say here. In a review for In Through the Outdoor Deluxe Edition, Andrew Guskus of Pop Matters described All My Love as the saddest and most heartfelt Zeppelin song. Guskus described the song as a fitting ode to Plant's son, which, hauntingly enough, sounds like a foreshadowing of a band on the path to an impending and unforeseeable dissolution. Yeah. It's a good POV there. In its 1999 list of the top 500 tracks, Radio Caroline ranked the song at number 239. In an interview he later gave to rock journalist Cameron Crowe, Plant stated that this song was one of Led Zeppelin's finest moments. However, guitarist Jimmy Page and drummer John Bonham had reservations about the song's soft rock sound. Okay, and that's it. That's all the information that Wikipedia Song Facts has for us, man. Interesting, I'm thinking about, I keep going back to how they would have sounded, let's say, if they had made that transition into the 80s. I think this is a really, really good telling example of how they would have sounded had they transitioned into the 80s. I really believe that. I think that maybe the synth would have taken a little bit more center stage, shoulder to shoulder with the guitar, and that their sound would have maybe taken on perhaps maybe a softer footprint, but all the same, there's still that great Led Zeppelin signature sound in this song as an example. And if many other songs following, let's say if they did go into the 80s, if many other songs kind of followed the example of this tune, and this is mostly the sound that would arise from it, hey, that's all good. I'll take it. I think that they would have been very successful, maybe not as successful as they were in the 70s, but I think that they would have been very successful all the same. Sound is changing, yes. Maybe it might have been a lighter version with a more synth-orientated center. All the same, man. It's the mastery of Led Zeppelin, and I think that they would have done very, very well in the 80s. And two, this was an opportunity for, I guess, Plant to get a feel for how it would be if he was, let's say, going into the 80s maybe as a solo act. So he kind of got his feet wet, and he knew that going forward, if they were not together anymore and he was on his own, maybe he was thinking to himself, well, okay, I have all that I need to know to realize that I would probably do very, very well, and getting an idea of how he would approach maybe going about the 80s. I don't know if they were that far thinking and in their planning, but to me, bottom line is that this is a really, really good indicator as to how they would have sounded in the 80s. Let me know what you think about that. Now, maybe they wouldn't have been as dominant as they were in the 70s, but I have no doubt that they would have been successful for sure. And two, though, on the flip side of that same coin, but on the flip side, Page and Bonham were concerned with the soft rock sound. That indicates that they quite possibly, even in the 80s, would have probably eventually navigated back to a more thunderous signature route. They would have said, okay, we've had our time of experimenting, and we've had our time of going off the beaten path. Now let's get back to some center line, heavy, thunderous Led Zeppelin signature stuff. So that's quite possible. I don't think that those four guys, with their heritage and their understanding and their appreciation for songs of old and the blues and all of that, would have completely left it all behind. There's just no way. If they're jamming together, if they're getting together to do music of any sort, they would not let go of their thunderous signature footprint, because it's the most all-encompassing part of Led Zeppelin. Yes, they've got their folksy side, they've got their light rock side, they've got their fantasy farscape far and away side and all of that, but at their core, in the end, they are still able to just drop that damn thunder, and they know that they've got this magical elixir in their mix about this, and they can basically go back to it any damn time they want. They're that masterful, and they know this shit. So I think ultimately they would have gone back to a heavy, thunderous signature sound. Why? Because they just can. They can go anywhere they want. They can create anything they want to create. They're that masterful, and they know this. And I think that eventually that's what would happen. You know, they would have broken up, gone their separate ways a little bit, cleaned up their act, get rejuvenated, you know, detoxed, and then come back together again and just come back with a vengeance. Or, you know, just once in a while get together and record some really excellent jams. All the same, the Led Zeppelin sound, the signature sound, the thunder, all of that would have still been present. It doesn't matter what form they decided to adopt going into the 80s. That's what I believe, man. And I believe too that this was just a momentary period in their growth progression. Their Page and Bonham spending time away, Page going through his addictions, Bonham going through his alcoholism, and once they get through that phase, they would have come back together and they would have gotten back to basics. I believe that. Sadly, it wasn't to be, but I feel that Led Zeppelin would have done very, very well going forward, and this would have been an indication of how they would have probably sounded. That's my point. Anyway, but basically, addressing the song in itself, a really excellent devotional to his son, and they didn't really give up too much of the Led Zeppelin signature sound. It was still there, you know. And again, it isn't like one of those sappy ass love songs, sappy ass ballads that you just have no time for. It was heartfelt and it was solid and it landed well. So excellent song, man. I definitely give it its props. I'm just scrolling down to my notes here, man, before I bounce. All right, yeah, so I just want to give you guys an update, assuming that this reaction makes it onto YouTube. I see a lot of, now that I'm back on YouTube and I see a number of new subscribers coming in, you're not aware of what I'm all about where it comes to the structure of my channel. I was on YouTube previously, had lots and lots of reactions on, upwards of close to 500. COPPA happened. I pulled all of that shit down. Now I'm back on. So a lot of my subscribers know that if there's a certain Led Zeppelin reaction that they're not seeing on the channel, you have to go to two other platforms. I've got a Vimeo account and I've got a Patreon account. So go to those two platforms and you're going to have to look for my reaction, meaning once you find Soul Train Bro, you're going to have to scroll. That's the only unfortunate thing about Patreon and Vimeo, unlike YouTube, you know, and their search engines don't work as well as the YouTube search engine. So you're going to have to scroll down far to find whatever reaction. Let's use the Lemon song as an example. It was one of my first reactions, and so you're going to have to be scrolling through like 8 months of material to find it. You know, that's the only thing. So when you're seeing on YouTube certain reactions, but you're missing reactions, that means that it's on a different platform. Okay, so if you're a new subscriber and you're wondering, because I see these questions, that's what's going on. So you're going to have to go searching for it. Okay, I've done it. I've done every single song on every single Led Zeppelin studio album from the very, very first all the way now coming close to the very end, which being In Through the Outdoors, their 8th studio album. And I've got one more song left on this album. So so far I've done every single song individually. So if you don't see the reaction on YouTube, that means it's been blocked. So you're gonna have to go to the other platforms to find it. Okay, all right, man. Yeah, that's my reaction, that's my update, and look for my next Led Zeppelin reaction next weekend, either Friday or Saturday. And yeah, sorry, forgive me, I can't recall the name of the song, but I hear that it's a really, really good one and that I'm gonna love it very much. That's what I'm being told, so I'm looking forward to it, man. Anyway, great song, excellent rendition of a excellent well, I'll say ballad slash tribute, you know, devotional. That's what I'll call it. And in my eyes, it's a great sound. and it's something that I think that would have been very, very well received in the 80s if they got into the 80s. That's what I think. Anyways, man, let me know what you think, and I look forward to it. I'm sure it's going to be quite a few interesting point of views about this. So have yourselves a good one, and I'll catch you in my next Led Zeppelin reaction. Peace.